Hello everyone, my name is Karla and I will be doing my explainer video on centering immigrant voices. I want to begin by first talking about my own positionality and intersectionalities as it does relate to my community partner experience. Two identities that I feel I have come to recognize more after working with my community partner are that I am young and able-bodied. And I'll explain a little bit why in a bit. I'm also a nursing and first-generation college student, so I do have the privilege of having the opportunity to pursue an education, to go to college, and to pursue my dream career. And I also identify as Mexican American. Both of my parents were born in Mexico, but I am born here. Thanks to the fact that they immigrated, which means I am a citizen, and I do have a lot of privileges in that sense. I also come from a working class family, much like the people of the Canal, and I am bilingual. Although Spanish was my first language, I did learn English really early on because I did grow up here. And to compare that to the people from the Canal, they are primarily Latinx and immigrants from mainly Mexico, Guatemala, and El Salvador. They're also working class, like my family, and essential workers, which is something that I got used to referring these people as because our supervisor at Canal Alliance told us that it's really important to recognize that these people are not only immigrants, even though that is a large part of their identity, they're also hardworking and dedicated essential workers of Marin, and they have been working through this pandemic, earning less than the living wage. But then there's also the fraction of people from the Canal that were unemployed during most of this pandemic and still remain unemployed due to the circumstances and conditions. Another thing that I want to point out is that many of them have disabilities, whether or not they were caused by their work. They are disabilities that are affecting their ability to work, and it's affecting other areas of their life as well. So when speaking to them and learning that a lot of them do have disabilities that make them unable to provide for their families or work for long periods of time, it did help. It did remind me of the privilege that I have in being able-bodied and young, and that's something that I wanted to point out. People from the Canal also have limited education. Many of them didn't go to high school or college in their country of origin, and for the few that did, their degree is not valid in the U.S., and that limits their opportunities in many ways, as well as the job opportunities that are available to them. Another identity associated with the people of the Canal is that they're non-English speakers, so they usually only speak Spanish and or other indigenous languages, with little to no understanding of English, which is a big struggle in this country, and it's a struggle in being able to communicate and look for resources. And this brings up the language barrier issue that is very common within immigrant communities. Some statistics about the Canal community are that the typical worker earns roughly $21,000 a year, which is significantly less than what an average family needs in order to provide a decent life for their kids and for the family. 58% live below the federal poverty level, and 92% do not receive any public assistance. And this is something that I've definitely seen occur with almost everyone that comes in to fill out rental assistance applications. They're not receiving any benefits or help from their jobs, let alone public help. the only option is coming to Canal Alliance in hopes that they'll receive help for the following months of rent and for prior rent as well. Why put marginalized voices at the moral center? I believe it's important because there are so many myths that are perpetuating false ideas about marginalized groups, including immigrants. It's the dominant culture and dominant figures that are spreading these false myths, when in reality these aren't the people that have lived the experiences. Only marginalized people know what it is like to endure all the struggles and face the obstacles in this country as immigrants, for example. Only they know what it's truly like. Only they know the truth. And so one of these myths that has become the issue is the myth of the American dream. It's the idea that everyone can accomplish their goals and succeed by working hard. It's the idea that everyone is treated equally and has access to equal opportunities. And so this is a myth, much like many others, that is being spread, again, by the dominant culture, and it's being fed to these marginalized groups. And negative growth, Jose Angel talks about the people of Guadalajara that look at the people that come back from the United States and think of them as the very embodiment of success. And so what this does is create a very harmful idea and wrong idea of what it's like to come here to the US as an immigrant, because they don't see the struggle that it took to get to where they are. And so these myths are luring people to the United States with the false promises, with the false expectations. It's leading to the migration, it leads to migration in search of better opportunities, sometimes opportunities that are not available in their countries. Upon arrival, these immigrants are facing the harsh reality of what it's like to assimilate and all of its implications. In Resilience Undocumented, one of the day laborers of San Francisco says, "If I only want to survive and have honest work in order to help my family and myself, I don't understand why there need to be so many obstacles." And so many people feel this. They're seeing that after so many years in this country, it's impossible to succeed and fulfill that American dream, even though that's what they came here to do. A lot of them come on their own just and hope to provide for their families and send back money. But that's hard to do, especially when you come with this idea, the wrong idea of what it's like to come here. And so these experiences of immigrants, they're creating, it leads to the creation of false narratives about immigrants. And again, they're being perpetuated by dominant culture and our society. The reality behind the myth of the American dream can be seen by the struggles that are being faced by the immigrants in the Canal and in other immigrant communities as well. One of the main issues that's I've come to recognize is the cost of living. The rent in Marin is too high for canal tenants to afford, and this has been an issue way before the pandemic, but it was only during the pandemic that the county decided to offer financial support for the canal residents. But what happens is that this is only a temporary relief, and after this program runs out of resources, people will still be struggling to pay rent for the following months and following years. Another issue is, in general, the lack of access to knowledge and resources. People do not know who to turn to, what to do in these cases, and they don't have any idea of the resources that are available. And even with the resources that are available, it's not enough for the people to overcome these financial struggles. Because even with programs like the rental assistance program, there are a lot of conditions and requirements that people must go through, like proof of income, which in many cases is not possible, or people have to prove that they were truly affected by COVID, even though in many ways everyone was affected. And so I also want to talk about the importance of being an ally of the undocumented, and this is something that was brought up in negative growth, but I think it's important to recognize that you can be an ally for any and as many groups, marginalized groups, as you want, as long as it's something that really matters to you and that you feel passionate about. Allyship should be about firstly listening, making space for marginalized voices, like the voices of immigrants, which is something that I've had the chance to do a lot in Canal Alliance, listening to people's stories, because I didn't think about this, but a lot of them really want to voice their stories and talk about what it's been like for them. And after hearing a lot of this, I can see that it's something that's really important to them and something that they care about. With this and my community partner experience, I've been able to recognize my own power and privilege. And again, this has been something that I've been able to do as a result of listening to people's stories and people's lives. There's also mutual aid, which is based on community initiatives. So it's something that we learned in Sewing Resilience with the garment workers. And so this is about community-based work and aid and long-term commitment to the community we're trying to be an ally for. This also means that we have to be willing to constantly learn and apply what we learn. The journey doesn't end here, and we should be open and willing to apply everything that we learn into different areas. So for me, that means that I'll be applying what I've learned throughout my community partner experience and what I've learned in this class, and hopefully apply it as I continue my journey in the nursing program and eventually in my nursing career. And that is all. Thank you very much.